Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production. Today is Thursday, January 24th, 2025. I think we know all the years and the dates. So we have a lot on our plate today. You could hear my cold. It's not getting much better. And I'll try not to sniffle so much. Let's get going. From the Hill. Love the Hill, right? Tennessee Republican proposes an amendment to allow Trump to serve a third term. Now, folks, are we really wasting our time already? This is what we're doing. Representative Andy Ogles, Republican from Tennessee, proposed an amendment to the U.S. Constitution that would allow President Trump to serve a third term in the White House so that the country can sustain the bold leadership our nation so desperately needs. Already my head is exploding. Yeah, he's been in office for a week. And already you're saying, let's give him a third term. Let's give him another one. Sorry, folks. That's a waste of time. That's a pipe dream. We have so many other constitutional issues that I'd laugh him off the podium. Ridiculous. Not needed. Not wanted. Trump was elected. Our 22nd Amendment is solid. And we don't need to play with it. The wording that he posed, it's just a mishmash of words. And listen, I said, when Republicans do stupid stuff, I'm calling them out. So this is a stupid thing, and I realize why they have to cover it, because it shows the stupidity. So
I don't give a fuck what you think.
Trump signs the release of documents that open the windows into the nation's most debated mysteries. Assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963. The killing of Robert Kennedy, I think that was 1965, and then 65 too. The killing of civil rights leader Martin Luther King. Now, I want some of you sleuths and detectives out there. This is terrible. I apologize. Do you really think there's any meat left on those bones? That they left clues, or a secret note, or a decoder ring, that they're going to lead you down a path? Do you think so? Do you think any of that other information is saved somewhere? Do you think that? Because if you do, you should be in the Scooby wagon with them. The mystery van. Because we're not going to learn anything we haven't learned already. Because any information that might have been so sensitive that they locked this up, yeah, that's gone. You're not seeing that. So, more, of watch this hand while I'm doing this. A trove of long classified government documents will be examined by the public. JFK could finally be made available to the public. His documents.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah. So that order was signed today, Thursday. And really, all that order does is gets all those security. I'm sorry, I took cough medicine. It's going to kick in any minute now. All it does is tells all these security departments that are part of that. I at this point I'll say cover up to begin the process of releasing those records. So let's see how that works out. More waste of time. Conservatives flip out over J.D. Vance's first moves as vice president. Well, he's going to sit down with CBS. Margaret Brennan, the moderator for Face the Nation. And this exchange, how about interview, will air Sunday. But conservatives on the social media groups like X are upset that he even did this. Well, he kind of has to do it. That's his job, to go around, talk. So, what's the big deal, folks? Does an interview with the media that we all know was against Trump. But guess what? Trump won. Now they got to deal with people who are going to say what they say and mean what they say. Let the fun begin. From E.T. Entertainment Tonight, not, Elliot. The View audience gasps as Anna Navarro compares Snoop Dogg to a trained SEAL for performing in support of Donald Trump. Now, this shows how racist The View, not News with a View. We would never do that. But The View, comparing Snoop Dogg to a SEAL. And I'm sure she wanted to say minstrel, but she didn't know the word. So, she was mad at that. Sonny Hostin, also the host, pointed out that it was hypocritical of black performers participating in inaugural events. So, she says she feels that no black person should have anything to do with the inauguration or with Trump. What do you think would happen if some other news organization, that's not, that is a show, but another show, got up there and said, white people don't do anything with black people. What do you think would happen? the party of inclusion, right? These are the party of inclusion. Talk about hypocritical. And she said, Snoop, Nelly, the Village People's Victor Willis should not have performed. And she said, Snoop changed his beliefs and that he should not have changed his beliefs. He was not a Trump supporter back in the day, but now he is. And how dare he have a change of opinion? Isn't that great? Isn't that a great party to be with? The View. And we all know why they stay on the air. And they get paid millions. Check how much money they're making revenue on ads. Show should have been canceled a long time ago. But they stay. DEI. All right. Back to the Hill in an opinion piece. And they always stick an opinion piece in between regular news. Where people they don't see opinion, they just see the headline, 24 election exposes Republicans' worst weakness. What worst weakness? We won. And as the dust has settled on the 2024 election, many Republicans remain gleeful, they say, about their opponent's struggle. I don't say gleeful. I might call their struggle irrelevant. It was not going to go anywhere. And the more they wiggle in the quicksand, is the quicker they go down. Whereas if they ask for help, maybe a Republican would stick his hand out there, grab him, and get him up, and they get something done. The Republicans have been pushing that in the 15 weeks of Harris's anointment with Walsh, the campaign burned through $1.5 billion. It's a lot more than that, folks. Only to lose convincingly in 7 out of the 7 major battlegrounds. From glitzy fundraisers to millions of dollars on a single celebrity endorsement. Now, those ads where you see like Sam Elliott, was that a paid endorsement? It was never said that. Yet if you have an advertisement, you have to say paid endorsement or compensated endorsement or something in the smallest possible fonts. These people didn't support him. They were paid. The Democrats gaslighted you all. And you guys, for the most part, talk about being locked in step with your support. You guys were locked in step. You refused to believe that you were lied to, that Biden was not fit to serve probably his last 12 months in office. Probably could go back a little on that too. And then you believe wholeheartedly he's the best guy. He's fit as a fiddle. He's wonderful. He's the only one that can beat Donald Trump. Yeah. And Donald Trump's the threat to democracy, right? His first day in office, he became a dictator, tore apart the Constitution, right? No, none of that happened. But you know what you guys did? You took a primary election and null and voided your vote for Joe Biden to represent you. They strong armed him and then anointed Harris. And you were all going, yeah, oh, I won, yay, yay. Well, Joe couldn't do the job now. Yeah, yeah. What do you think, that just happened? Joe had a stroke that day? Gullible. Gullible. And locked in step. And you say, the MAGA are marching right behind Trump. No, we're not. No, we're not. We never have. It's not what we do. Make sense. Make sense. You guys just love to hit that panic button when people don't agree with you. And you love saying the craziest stuff. Crazy. And speaking about crazy, the rap. Rachel Maddow says Republicans' shame and embarrassment over Trump might be what saves the country. I haven't seen anything to be shameful of or embarrassed of. I could see a lot of things that the Democrats should be shameful of and embarrassed. Just went through a little montage of that moments ago. You people should be embarrassed. She should be off the air, and she's a smart woman. She's a very smart woman. I will not take that away from her. But it is her fake indignation. Anyone can see it. And it's those, she gets that crazy look on her face where you go, all right, you made a good point there, and then you're twisting and and you go, all right, she lost me. She lost me. And she pointed to his 1,500 pardons and the release of some of those people accused of assault. While I do, I do question that. I honestly do. Assault is a serious term. Now, they're using assault in terms where resisting arrest, running from the police. Hey, don't go in that room. And the guy turns around and says, F you. That's what they were using for a term of assault. In certain cases, there were cases where people pick stuff up and hit other people with it. Yeah, you might have to do some time for that. And Rachel Maddow says, "Oh, people, the Republicans, MAGA people, don't want to talk about that." Well, I'm talking about it, and I'm a MAGA person. So have me on your show. I'd love to discuss it with you. Now, the Trump sits down for a one-on-one interview with Hannity. It was a good interview, and we knew what questions. I mean, this was going to be a softball jump game and easy little pitches. But that's fine. I thought his White House interview while signing the executive orders might have been the best and honest press conference that we've seen. Unscripted, pure Trump. Really good stuff. So he sits down with him, and they have a nice little chat. He announces he's going to go to North Carolina and then California. And look at and meet with, I'm going to say local leaders and people on the ground. And then Trump went on to say Biden got bad advice not to pardon himself. And he went on to say that he was offered a pardon when he was leaving the White House. They said, hey, you can do these pardons for all these people and yourself. If you want to, you have the power. Trump didn't. And he said, I didn't do anything wrong. So I'm not going to do those pardons because it would make me look guilty. I'm not guilty. So what did Trump do? He left the White House, and the DOJ went after him. Now, I always said the document case, that had meat. That had meat on the bone. There was easy ways for him to rectify it. He didn't. And Trump then used the courts to go step by step through the procedures. To the end, where finally his lawyer said, hey, by the way, how was Jack Smith appointed? Because I'm reading what it was supposed to do, how he was supposed to get appointed. And now did they know about this? Did they approve it? They fund it? How is this being done? And the unraveling of the ball began. To the point that Judge Cannon said enough, wasn't done right here, dismissed it, goodbye. Now, again, why she couldn't do that in the other case, the January 6th case, is because it was not in her jurisdiction. Remember, that's a word I use a lot, jurisdiction. And she didn't have the sovereignty to go and do and say that. But the logic would follow that if you did something as a federal prosecutor and used the same plan on going after someone, and that plan was over here shown to be illegal, because that's what it was, then it would make sense that if he went to the courts over here and said, hey, 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 and then he gets kicked up to the robes, and the robes would say, yeah, yeah, you didn't appoint him correctly. All the evidence and everything might be good, but you should never have collected it. You had no right to do those interviews. You had no right to ask for a grand jury. You had no right to ask for a subpoena. So, all that stuff goes bye-bye. Jack Smith did the only other thing he could do. Quickly ask the courts to dismiss the charge without prejudice. So, possibly later on, he can, it could be revisited. We know that's not going to happen. And I'm sorry, Jack Smith, smart guy. Even though Trump says dumbest guy ever, he should have known that he wasn't being appointed correctly. But he didn't care. They all were on the bandwagon that Biden would win, and then Harris would win. And then when Harris saw that it was getting touchy, all of a sudden they start speeding the wheels up because they want to get this case in there and settled while those two knuckleheads are still in power. And everyone said, yeah, no, put the brakes on it. And that's what happened. And Trump told Hannity he would defer to Congress as to whether lawmakers should investigate Biden and his decision to preemptively pardon family members and Trump critics. Honestly, I don't think there's anything that can be done about that. Trump did it while he was president, and Donald Trump solidified that power. So, like I said, you're going to swing that sword. Remember, it can swing all the way around too. So, that's something, that is something that Donald Trump has learned. And about Trump giving himself a pardon, legal experts suggest at the end of Trump's first term that it was untested legal precedent for a president to try to preemptively pardon themselves. Nixon could have done that. And more than likely, because of the sentiment, the justices at that time would have said, no, you can't do it. But the Constitution really falls back into the only thing a president cannot pardon himself of is an impeachment. So would they have impeached Richard Nixon and the Senate found him guilty, then he couldn't pardon himself from that. So resigning and then Gerald Ford issuing a pardon, I took care of that. And they kicked the can down the road and said, let another president argue that fact. Trump bashes FEMA over its handling of the hurricane This is cough medicine. Yeah, no boy, no. So, uh, and handled very poorly, though. Trump said states should be able to manage their own disasters. With federal money and everything coming in, but they should be able to handle their own disasters. Yeah, I kind of disagree with you, Donald. You have storms, you have stuff like this that comes in. The only people that can quickly respond is the federal government. So, you know, I'd rather see states take care of their own problems. Well, yeah, maybe if those states, got more federal aid, take care of those things as they come up. But we saw what happens with federal aid. The money is seldom used what it was intended for. You listen in California. So, Trump repeatedly attacked the Biden administration in the wake of the hurricanes, which devastated, of course, Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. A FEMA worker was fired because they were told not to. He told people not to go to anyone that had a Trump sign on their lawn. And if you think that just happened one time, no, that happened multiple times, and that was squashed. So, Trump is going to go and meet in California and uh, North Carolina. So, I think it's unclear if these Democrats are going to meet with the president, but I think it would be crazy if they didn't. Uh, Trump is there to represent every citizen, Republican, Democrat, Communist, Progressive, whatever. They're citizens. He represents them. So these Democrats would be wise to be on the ground with them and maybe just say, hey, we're going to leave the politics off to the side. And we're asking you for help. And what can you do to help us? And they'll give the president a wish list, who will then give it to FEMA. Now, will there be strings attached to it? You bet there's going to be strings attached to it. You know, they're going to make sure that certain things are done and the money is accounted for. The other thing Trump talked about was TikTok. And let's face it, he says we could get over the privacy thing. We have no problems with them making computer routers, computers, cell phones, or computer boards that tells our telephone when we need milk in our refrigerator. Um, no one seems worried about that. My feeling is this is a money grab. Um, and yeah, it's a money grab. And it's worthless if Trump doesn't sign it, but it's worth billions if he does. And then, as he says, the United States, whoever gets it, gets a piece of it. Sounds like extortion to me. Right. So there's a 75-day respite on TikTok. So, and then Trump went on to say he called the January 6th assaults on police officers minor incidences. I don't know. I don't know. You hit a police officer with anything: an egg, a water balloon, a pipe, bicycle. Yeah, and that's aggravated assault. And yeah, and him calling it a minor incident, someone might say, well, you got shot in your ear. It wasn't like you got shot between your eyes, right? Maybe the guy that was swinging at the police officer would have nailed him straight in the middle of his forehead. And just by chance, he turned and got a glancing blow. And he, okay, wasn't hurt to any extent, or he had gear on and bounced off the gear. But the intent was to inflict maximum damage to him. So, guess what? Yeah, you get arrested. You get arrested. Now, could you show mercy? Could you show, but you get arrested. That's what happens. Some people were made examples of, and I have a problem with that. The court is not there to make an example of you. The police are not there to make an example of you, and the government is not there to make an example of you. They follow the law, and the law dictates, and the judge has sentencing guidelines. Well, this does 1 to 6 years. I choose 6. Now let's look at the second charge. That has 2 to 8. I choose 8. So, not less than 1, not more than 8. And the judges just all went out to the max. Yeah, that was done to make an example. And, Garland said it too. What you could do and what you should do is a factor. So, Trump got tired of going back and forth, I guess, with his people and said, screw it, just release them all. Just release them all. Of course, he then went on his comments, went on to talk about the one officer that said he was assaulted, Michael Fanone. I remember his name right. And went on to speak about, hey, you weren't hurt that bad. All right. The other big thing is, and I said this the other day, health researchers are alarmed with the pause in place from Trump on communications about health issues and reporting. So, FDA, CDC, National Institute of Health, all have memos saying no releasing, no talking to the press without direct White House notification. So, people are saying, well, what happens if we have to recall eggs or bologna? How's that going to happen? Well, they're going to communicate with the White House, and the White House is then going to say, all right, boom, boom, release it. So, no panic. Democratic strategist David Axelrod. Remember him? Harris will win. Stated the one lesson Trump has learned from everything, from his first election to today, is that he can get away with anything. Yeah, you're right. If you followed the law and exercised your rights, and the courts agree that your rights were either violated or this should not have been done to you or it was done incorrectly, yeah, yeah, you're right. Trump learned that. And so did all of us. You know what that means? System works. You hate that. God, how they hate that the system works. How the left hates the system. Now, my favorite topic has been DEI and Trump's rollback of everything DEI. And DEI made it impossible for white people to say, go to the EEOC and go, and the EEOC is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and say, they hired a guy that had no experience, he was black, I have all the experience on the job, and they took this guy and promoted him. We were both going for the same job. My manager even told me I was a great fit for it. But they took that guy. And they said, well, that's not an EEOC violation. Under our DEI policy of diversity, inclusion, and equity and inclusion, should have been die, but we can do this, and that's our policy. And I'm sorry, you didn't get the job, and this was the skirt affirmative action. Every word in here is about affirmative action, and it really comes into play. And they even admit it. They even admit it by saying DEI was created because marginalized communities have not always had equal opportunities for jobs or felt a sense of belonging in majority white corporate setting. Not corporate settings, white corporate setting. So, you don't think that's racial? When they say marginalized communities, who are those marginalized communities? How about the Asians? Right? 2%. Aren't they marginalized? They seem to be doing okay. Right? If you believe that, you are the problem. That if, because they lived in a bad neighborhood, smoked dope and didn't go to school, they should just skip over the process and make as much money as a person who went to school, got an education, and applied themselves. And you're just starting out. You think all lawyers start out at $100,000 a year? You think all doctors start out at $100,000 a year? Get your facts, folks. But these people who are flipping burgers think they should be $35,000, $40,000 a year employees with no education. And I get it, but yeah, it doesn't work that way. So, and it was that is the genesis of DEI, of why some of these programs exist. It was an attempt to try to create workplaces where more or all people can thrive. Well, if you're turned down for a job because the company goes, we're going to take Jefferson over there over Joe because it fills our DEI requirements. Yeah, sorry, Joe. It's called affirmative action. It's got to go. You want equality? You got equality. Are you equal to a person that's applying for a job that has a degree from Harvard? I wouldn't be. And I would expect, well, that person learned a lot more than I did. I could see why they would take them for the job. So I might have to take a job that's a little bit lower and then work my way into that spot. It's done all the time, folks, and has been done all the time. And certain groups don't want to wait. We waited long enough. Well, you were held back by the Democrats, number one, who kept you fed and housed like you were their pets. And would only take you out when they needed to parade you around. Yeah, I said that because it's true. And the black people are realizing that. They've been lied to, promised. Um, and all they want is a shot at doing and getting the dream. And they should. But they got to work for it. You just can't. You just can't get it. It just doesn't appear. You got to earn it. And if you don't want to earn it, you ain't going to get it. You know, start buying lotto tickets and scratching. Because that's the only other way I know how to do it. All right. I think I I coughed and sniffled more than I spoke here, but it is what it is. I am going to try to get a show out for Saturday. Yesterday was Friday, and I said it was Thursday. My days were all screwed up because I've been sleeping crazily. So I'm going to fix that on the front edit with the proper dates and episodes. I'm sure it's episode 17. And go from there. Pray for hurricane victims and the fire victims. If you're going to give a donation, Make sure it's to a registered charity. Those charities will not reach out to you. You must reach out to them. And don't become a victim helping a victim by being scammed. We all work way too hard for our money. And with that, I'll see you later as I fade to black.